So, first of all, I just want to say welcome, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whatever side of the world you're on. So nice to see everybody. Um, and George, so nice to see you. George's been all around the world, traveling, doing events all over the world, and been difficult to pin him down. But I spoke to him last night and I said, George, I'd love to have you on the call this evening because there's so many new people that haven't met George yet. And if it wasn't for George, none of us would be on this call this evening. And I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for introducing LifeWave into my life on the 22nd of November, 2022. And if it wasn't for George seeing me on a Zoom call where I was completely burnt out, run down, tired, I was hitting depression, I looked bad. And maybe it's a good thing I looked bad because that's how George noticed me. And he sent me a very direct message telling me that I looked like beep. And I thought, wow, okay, George. And he got my attention and he said to me, I've got something that can help you. He sent me some info, went over my head. He sent me more info over my head, sent me a few video clips over my head. Just wasn't ready yet. But George was persistent, and I'm so glad and I'm so grateful that he was because he stopped me in my tracks when he sent me a 6.5 minute voice note. I said, George, you've got my attention. Long story short, what happened was I registered on the 22nd of November, 2022. 2 days later, my patches arrived. 24th of November, I put the patch on my body, on the back of my neck. And 5 days later, my life completely turned around 180 degrees. I've basically got my brain back. And it's been an amazing, amazing journey. George has been right there at the beginning, helping us every step of the way. And I'm so grateful for George living in Spain, Mallorca, and we walked a very long path. And George is the senior presidential director for LifeWave, and he did that within 14 months. And he paved the way for all of us, and he showed the way. And he comes with a lot of knowledge, a lot of experience. And I spoke to him last night, and I said, George, I watched your 20-minute talk that he did when he was in Portugal this last weekend, and it absolutely blew my mind, absolutely blew my mind. And I said, I want to talk about something different tonight. And we're going to talk about how LifeWave is different on every single level. Because there's a lot of people on this call that have been in the network marketing industry before. Some of you have succeeded, some of you might not have succeeded. But this industry has been around, I didn't know this, for 136 years, network marketing industry. And there's a lot of very good companies out there, a lot of very good companies, very good high quality products out there. And that's what's beautiful about the network marketing industry. Everything is very high quality. But the thing is, everything is a Me Too product in the industry. So you're always competing. You're always competing where products are much of a muchness. My powder, your powder, my pill, your pill. And it's a very competitive market and a very competitive industry. But what really got my attention was when George said to me that this product's got 180 patents and has been going this year for 20 years. That got my attention because we've got a product and a company that is in a league of its own where we've got no competition. And I don't think people realize the gift that we have in our hand right now to be in this beautiful, beautiful industry and to be part of this beautiful company, this most amazing product that is changing people's lives. And I think when that resonates with you, when it goes from your head to your heart, and you finally realize what we are actually sitting with right now, you'll have a complete paradigm shift. So we're going to talk about a couple of different aspects, but I'm going to hand over to George now. And he spoke to me right in the beginning when he said, Chris, this company is different. And I know exactly what he's talking about because it is different on every single level. George, over to you.
Thank you, and congratulations to you, sir. Hitting SPD. Super congratulations. Couldn't wait for that to happen. Aloma is clapping, and I can see some other people waving. This is wonderful. And I want to say good evening to Ashley, who I think is our youngest member here. And by the way, I've got some young people who want to talk to you, Ashley. So I'm going to try and set up some calls. And I would say good evening to Alicia, who I met at a lunch in about a week ago. She's here on the call, Alicia Glantz. And so listen, guys, I was never going to do this again. I did network marketing once. I was never, ever going to do it again. I had that super clear in my mind. And now, why was I never going to do it again? Big problem with, I worked with a company. We had a great product, but it was vitamins. And everybody sells vitamins. Other network sells vitamins. The supermarket sells vitamins. The chemist sells vitamins. The health food stores sell vitamins. That was one problem. And the other problem for me was leadership. So two things resolved here. We've got great leadership. One of our leaders is on the call, I see. Good evening, Javi. How are you? Welcome. And so the way I describe LifeWave, it's all the other networks, whatever they are, they're going uphill. You're going uphill with the wind in your face. With LifeWave, we're going downhill with the wind at our back. And that's something that for me is really key, and why it's growing so rapidly, because it's a product that's unique, that works, people see results and keep telling other people, whether we tell them or not. I don't know if you can hear the cat squeaking in the background. He never makes so much noise. So I really hope I can bring you something useful today on this call. As far as I'm concerned, and I want to transmit this to you guys, and I think that some of you guys have this. Growing LifeWave is for me, it's a task, it's a mission, and it's an obligation. And I think that I think Chris would say the same, and I think quite a few other people on this call would say the same. Why? Because we're not only bringing physical health, physical well-being, improved health in all sorts of levels, and we have many stories, but we're also bringing other kinds of health, and some of you have heard them. Javi talks about this a lot. Better physical health, better emotional health. A lot of people who are new maybe don't really understand what we mean by that, but I have so many people who've told me things like, it's very hard for me to be in a bad mood now, or I'm actually in a better mood, or you can't imagine the joy this has brought to our family. People, this emotional health rippling out into the world is very important for this very fractured world that we live in. And spiritual health. Now, this is a little harder to understand, but on the first call, as soon as I saw a video with David Schmidt, I'm sorry if you can hear the cat, he's going mad. I heard a video with David Schmidt talking about how X39 works to health professionals, and it caught my attention. And the first thing I said was, I want to talk with somebody who's been in this company for a while. And thus I got on a call with Javi, who many of you know, and some of you, I guess, don't. And that was just probably the first week of October 2022. And I said to him as well, straight there, I was never going to do this again. And however, this seems to me a unique product. And he then told me his story, which many of you have heard, about Alex, their boy, having had a huge result with X39 after having had minimal result with stem cell shots. So this then, also helped me to have more belief. On that same call came, some of you have heard of Mike Hernandez, who sponsored Javi, who told me, he said, I get testimonials every day. And I thought, I'll believe the guy, but I'm going to be kind of cautious. I don't know him. I believe him, but I'm going to be cautious. I get testimonials every day, and some of them are so powerful. They are almost beyond belief. And this is kind of, I get goosebumps sometimes when I read them. And this is spiritual health. You know, if I think, you know, we often in life have missed opportunities, or let's call it subtle moments that we could easily miss. I could have easily missed LifeWave because the person who told me about it said, I want to tell you about stem cells. And I said, I don't want to know about it. Aborted fetuses, stolen placentas, other species, the whole thing sounds barbaric to me. I'm not interested. No, 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 please, please, please. I'm going to send you a video. It's only 36 minutes. I said, what are you, crazy? A 36-minute video? You want me to watch a 36-minute video? Please, please, promise me you'll watch it. Promise me you'll watch it. Okay. And the following Sunday, I said to myself, I promise I better do it. And as I watched David Schmidt speaking and explaining what he was explaining, I'm saying to myself, wow, if this is true, it's revolutionary. You know, I have a book somewhere around here in my pile of papers, oh, there it is, that I read in the early 80s, and it's called The Body Electric. And when I read it at the time, actually, David Schmidt referred to it in a call recently. When I read it at that time, I thought this is really interesting, but it's in the future. However, when I saw David Schmidt speak, it kind of linked me back to that book. And I'd also, at one point, done a few sessions with somebody who had a light wand with different colored tips. So it wasn't completely strange to me, but also, I don't know about you guys, but COVID killed. I had three, good businesses. One was for the restaurant world, and it totally died. So I don't know about you guys how COVID affected you, but I was definitely casting around for something. And so my next thing was, okay, this product's looking interesting, and I want to talk to somebody who's been working with this product for a while. And thus, I got to be on a call with Javi. And one of the things I said to him was, Javi, how many people in your organization? How long have you been in there? He said, 4 months, 900 people. I said, okay, if this guy's got 900, I can have 1,000. I was already rounding up the numbers, a world of 8 billion. So then I said to him, how many people have you invited? He said, 25. And I said, how many people are doing something? He said, 12 to 13. And I said, how many are really doing something? He said, 5 to 6. So then I said to myself, well, this guy's telling me the truth, because that's how people are. 80-20 rule, Pareto principle, if you know what that is. And I'm going to go forward. And then we had a second call, and I said, some of you know this, but I said, I've got to go in 4 minutes. It's my birthday. And he said, I don't believe it. It's my birthday too. So this is a little bit of my story about how come I'm here, and how I didn't miss that moment, and how come we're all here because of that. On the health side in my life, I had a cough that was tremendous. People who I would explode into a cough 4 or 5, maybe more times a day for 4 or 5 minutes each time. People who knew me would like, people who didn't know me would think I was dying, and the other people who knew me said, oh, don't mind him, that's normal. And I didn't want to say this out loud for a very long time, but after about 8-9 months, I could say, I think the cough's gone. And I didn't really say it out loud for about 10 months. But on the other side, my money life really suffered, really suffered over COVID. And I found myself back against the wall again. Chris also found himself back against the wall again. And working with LifeWave, working in this network with LifeWave has, and I'm not somebody who talks about abundance. I talk really first about financial anxieties. My financial anxieties, thank you, Lord, thank you, LifeWave, thank you, David Schmidt, and thank all of you and all our teams. My financial anxieties are gone. I'm now working on the next level. I want to help everybody here who wants to get to that position where their financial anxieties are gone, and who want to get to that position where we can start thinking of building wealth for the future generation. So that's kind of my story. And there's something that I'm going to ask you a question. If I can watch the screen, you can either put a hand up or a sign or lift your hand that I can see it. But who here has financial anxieties? Okay, I'm seeing a few hands up. Alicia, Johnny P, Joe. I don't see everybody's screen, but I'm seeing Charles. So, okay. Now, who here loves helping other people? Okay, I'm seeing lots of hands going up now. And who here hears people saying something like, I'm interested in the health, but I'm not really interested in the money side of things. Who hears that? I'm seeing hands going up, hands going up, hands going up. Okay, so I'm going to say something which you may or may not have heard me say. And for many people, this is counterintuitive. The more money LifeWave sends you, or let me say it this way, the money that LifeWave sends you is an expression of your success in helping other people. So then I'm going to ask you another question, and I'm going to do something. So who here wants to receive lots of money from LifeWave? And if you do, please open your arms wide and feel that money coming to you, because we're really helping more and more people around the world. So this is a little bit of a mindset change that is very important to transmit. Look, I mean, I'm getting some stars on the screen. I don't know where they came from, but I was in Lisbon the other day, and they I think Romania, South Africa, and Portugal are the strongest new countries in Europe in LifeWave. Some of the other countries have lots of people from the past, but not from since X39. And in Lisbon, there were 430 people in the room. And I asked them this question, and at the end, I said, stand up. And 430 people stood up, and it was a lot of fun. So, this is network marketing, network. So we do have to do some work. It's not net play marketing, and that work side of things. So what one discovers, what I say, what really, 20%, or the other way around, rather 80% of this is the work we do on ourselves. The other 20% is how it works and actually doing the work. But there are people who want to know everything before they start, and I discourage that. For example, there was a doctor who spoke for half an hour in Lisbon, and when I spoke, I said to guys, look, and they had a lot of doctors in the room. There were about 60 doctors in the room, and that was very interesting. And he gave a medical talk. We're not doctors. There may be a doctor here on the call, and I give respect to all doctors. But because there were so many doctors in the room, I was fearful that people would think I need to have a doctor on my team. It's great if it happens, but you do not need to have doctors on your team for this to become very, very successful for you. So that was something that I highlighted, and the one who was thumbs up to me on that one was the doctor who'd been speaking on the stage. So another thing, and again, this is something else that Javi says a lot, and I said that to the room, here, this network is, we are purpose driven, we're not ego driven. Obviously it's wonderful when one goes through the ranks and you have a moment where you go, wow, but and you achieve something, but we achieve something with a team of people, not just on our own. And this purpose is the helping of other people, where the rest follows. So this is something to really underline. I've been on calls with network marketers who from other networks who people have asked me to speak with them, and I've come across those like chess beating guys. It's like it's not going to work out with them. So I have a whole lot of things to continue with, but I'd like Chris to jump in and give me some say something, because I've talked for a bit. So
Thank you,
Chris?
George. Love what you're saying so far. I think everybody's really resonating with it, where people are afraid of the money side, which is so peculiar because we're helping people on so many different levels, mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, and financially as well. And I think it's the relationship that people have with money because David Schmidt had to make a decision 20 years ago. He had to make a decision. How am I going to get this product into the marketplace? And he could have made the decision of putting it into retail. And I remember end of last year, he was on a conference call, and David Schmidt said, if this product ended up on Walgreens here in South Africa, it would be Discam, Clicks, that type of thing. It would be selling for $300 to $400 because the retailers, now I come from the retail industry. I had my own international children's toy company for 12 years. So I come from the retail background. And in the retail industry, you have a supply chain that needs to get paid along the way. And that's what determines the price of the product by the time it ends up on the shelves. So David Schmidt made a decision to turn LifeWave into a network marketing company, which I think is the most beautiful, amazing thing that he ever did. As I mentioned earlier on, it's a 136-year-old industry. And the way I see it is instead of these large corporations, now in any company, you've got a margin. So you've got a profit margin, which would get paid going to the reps and the staff and the merchandising and the transportation and this and that. And what then happens is all these big, large companies just become bigger superpowers, and all the money filters up to these big companies, right? And what happens is handful of the shareholders make all the money, right? That's the corporate world. That's where the world works. But in network marketing, what I think is so beautiful is it's in its purest form, redistribution of wealth. Network marketing is redistribution of wealth. And what it's doing is it's putting money back into the hands of many, which I think is the most beautiful thing in the world. And what you put in is in direct proportion to what you're going to get out. And what I love about network marketing is we all start at the same place. It's a level playing field for everybody. George didn't join LifeWave and inherit a team of 5,000 people. Harvey and Olga did not join and inherit 10,000 people. When Harvey and Olga joined, guess what they did? They went into the back office, just like every single one of us, for the very first time, and it said zero on the left and zero on the right. And you go, oh my word, where do I start? Where do I start? We start with the basics. We start with
On
the
the
basics.
telephone.
Don't try and recreate the wheel. And, I spoke to Harvey. We had a call the other night, and we were just talking about the concept of recreating the wheel. Don't do it, guys. Don't go and spend money on websites and funnels and this and that. Guys, Steve and Gina have done it for us already. The most amazing leaders, we all belong to this as a team, right? This is a team, is the fastest growing team in LifeWave International. And they've put it all in place for us, right? We have a duplicatable system that is in place that we follow. And, we had the honor of meeting Steve and Gina in August last year at the very first This Is It convention in Florida, in Tampa last year. And that's when we met, Harvey and Olga. We spent time with them, gave each other the biggest hugs ever. I see Olga on the call. So nice to see you on the call. You don't know it yet, but we're going to be unmuting you just now, just to say hello and share your story with everybody. Didn't know you were going to be on the call. So nice, such a nice surprise seeing you here. And meeting Mark and Sahi and the whole team, and just the most amazing, beautiful people that want to see everybody succeed. So, so going back to what I was saying, David Schmidt made that decision, and let me tell you something. If you go into the back office Now, I've seen a few different back offices in my life, and I've seen different compensation plans in my life. Let me tell you something. We've got the Rolls Royce. We have the Rolls Royce of back offices. I have never seen such a state of the art back office. Do you know how proud we can be to have something that works? In my 17 months being part of LifeWave, I've not been paid late. You get paid weekly on time. That's what happens when you're part of a 20-year-old company that has got stability. That's what we've all been looking for so many years. A lot of us have been through the mill. We've been through the mill. Let me tell you something. I've still got the cuts and bruises and scars and you name it. A lot of us have got that. And a lot of people have been looking for that one word, stability. And that's what you're getting with LifeWave because 20-year-old company, guys, that's 2 decades. 2 decades. Did you know that 90% of companies fail within the first 5 years? And then another 90% of that within 10 years. So a company that's been around for 2 decades, they're doing something right. And we know because a lot of people have said to me, because we've been on a countrywide tour for 3.5 months. And when I say to people, LifeWave is 20 years old, I've had a few people say, Chris, if the company is 20 years old, how come I've only heard about the company now? Let me tell you why. Because of this baby right here in my hands. Because this is the new kid on the block. This is what put LifeWave onto the map, which is X39. It was only launched 4.5 years ago. And then guess what happens? David Schmidt launches X39 in 2019. So as it launches, the world goes into lockdown. Imagine how David felt. He's been working on this for 10 years. He's just spent $4.5 million to bring this to the marketplace. He launches it, lockdown. His heart must have dropped to his toes. You know what that must have felt like? But guess what? David Schmidt did not give up. He knew what he's got in his hand right here and pushed through. And as we opened up out of lockdown, I mean, we know the figures, from 20 million to 321 million. Guys, how many companies do you know right now that have more than 10x their turnover after COVID? Not many. Most companies have either downsized or they've either gone into liquidation, they've either closed doors. That's what happened to my toy company after 12 years. So, where we're sitting right now, you've all heard the saying before. We're sitting with a 20-year-old startup company, a 20-year-old startup company. All the foundational stuff is in place, the patents, the clinical trials, the websites, everything is already in place. Don't go and recreate the wheel. Everything is right here at our fingertips. All we have to do is catch and share, talk, share. That's all we have to do. Everything is already in place. And let me tell you something, the compensation plan. The most simple compensation plan I've ever seen in my life. I know in network marketing, some companies you've got 17.5 ways to earn money, and you've got to have a degree to understand how you can earn money. And here we've got 4 ways. Guys, 4 ways to earn money, right? The most simple comp plan I've ever seen. But let me tell you something, the most powerful compensation plan I've ever seen in my life. And I tell you what I love, and I think a lot of people don't realize it. Anybody that's been in the network marketing industry before, a lot of times, as we know, we have to do 110 PV to remain active. So what's 110 PV? An X39 carries 77 points. A supplementary product, like let's call it IceWave, carries 55 points. Add these two together, 77 plus 55 gives you 132, which is what a household should be using anyway. That's all you have to do, right? Now, a lot of other network marketing companies, the moment you start getting higher up in the ranks, right, your personal volume starts to become more because you're earning more money, which I think doesn't make sense, right? But with LifeWave, Whether you are a manager, whether you are a director, a senior director, executive director, presidential director, or senior presidential director, guess what? Your PV is 110 points per month. That in its own right absolutely blows my mind. That is built on pure integrity, not greed, which which is something that I was talking to somebody about it the other day. They said, "No ways, you're kidding me," because in the world out there, the moment you start hitting higher ranks and earning more money, the company wants you to spend more money, not with LifeWave. That's all you have to do to remain active, which I think is the most beautiful thing. I just had to share that. It popped into my brain now.
So I don't know, Chris, if you know, I mean, in the event in Lisbon, so it was a corporate event. South Africa's making waves in LifeWave because the of the South Africa is part of Europe, Middle East, and Africa within LifeWave. So um, in previously South Africa, I think that this is the last quarter, not the last year, it's quarter, yep. 4.27% of EMEA, of the European market, South Africa had. And this quarter, it's 7.04%. So it's gone up 75%. So South Africa and everything you guys are doing is beginning to make waves in LifeWave. And something that I can tell you, and I might have got the date wrong, but Alavida is coming to South Africa. I think it's going to be the 18th of May, I think. I'm not sure exactly. I'm going to double check that. So there are things that, are worth mentioning just in case. And I've got to just get this thing here. I don't know if they're available in South Africa. Going to have to check. But we have little envelopes that we can buy. The Americans can buy ones from the This Is It team. The Europeans can buy ones from LifeWave. And that gives a great, when you give out 3 patches, and I don't tend to give more than 3 patches. I'll give more if somebody comes back to me, but we can talk about that in a minute. But these little envelopes are very, very useful. I don't know if you can buy them. They're like €7 for 10 of them, and it gives a great image when you give the patches to other people. So I put 3 with my business card. So some things that are simple things that are useful when you're looking to invite people. When people speak several languages, and when they catch this, that means they can reach into several different markets, several different countries, and that's very, very interesting to bear in mind. Another thing is, and I encourage everybody to do this, click at the flag on the top of the website, and you'll see the South African flag, or in America, you'll see the American, I see the Spanish flag. Click on that, and there's a drop down, and then read out loud to yourself the names of all those countries, because for sure, you reading out loud the name of that country, somebody in that country you haven't thought of, is nowhere in your mind, will pop into your mind. It may be useful. Another thing is very important. Chris is very much about making a list of names, but I'm also very much about paying attention to what your subconscious is telling you. If you're waking up and you're thinking of a person, write that person's name down. Aloma is saying yes, because people come to your mind. Dr. Allison, who many of you have seen in the group, she wasn't on my list at all, but I woke up thinking about her, and I'd met her at an event many years ago, and we'd been in touch in a digital distance. But and then you have to be persistent. With Chris, I think I sent him 21 messages over a period, but I didn't do it every day. I have a fairly good thermostat of how much quote unquote pressure people can bear. So and you never know what's going to catch somebody's attention, because I said several things to Chris, but it was only when I told him about Olga and Javi's son Alex with his result with autism, and I told Chris about my buddy in the north of Spain, Julian, with his result with tinnitus, and Chris said to himself, hey, wait a minute, George doesn't know my nephew is autistic. He doesn't know my partner has got tinnitus. I'm going to try, because that was the thing that brought an echo with him. So continue to be persistent. There's a guy today who I buy my coffee from him, and he's been in the pharmaceutical laboratory business. He's thinking of moving. He's broken up with his wife, and I said, what are you going to do? And he says, well, I don't know what I'm going to do. I said, well, before you decide, talk to me and let me explain to you what this is. Oh yeah, no, I know. I said, no, you don't. We've been no, you don't. No, you don't. All we've been doing is talking over the counter whenever I buy coffee from him. He may or may not. You never know. But I'm always I learned something from a marketer, and he's not saying always be selling. He's saying always be shipping. And I like that, because I'm always throwing seeds and shipping. So with this guy, for example, what I mean by shipping, and he's telling me before I'm going to move, I think I'm going to get a new house, and maybe I'll get it here or maybe I'll get it there, and I have to decide if I'm going to do this business in the new place or if I'm going to take a job or I said, okay, that's all fine. All fine, that's great. Don't forget, if you decide you're going to take a job, before you do that, talk to me. It may go somewhere, it may not, but always shipping. And that brings me to something else. I'm in a big hurry, but I'm never in a hurry. Don't know how to say that better, but I would love to have 100 senior presidential directors in my first line yesterday. But it's a process. It's a process for everybody to make their mind up. I want to do this. It's a process that demands, and consistency and persistence and consistency. It demands patience. It demands passion. It also, people have had, I've said this before, you need, between those two, you need a desire and willingness to learn. Many people don't have that. Some people do. But besides all of that, the person has to have made the decision. Seriously, I'm going to do this. Not, I might do it. I think I want to do it. I could do it. Yes, I want to be senior presidential director, but then you don't see them for weeks on end. No, I'm going to do this. And that's that decision. When you make it, the rest follows rather easily. So then the other thing, and we've talked about this a lot with Javi, is posture. I'm going to give you an example. You might find yourself telling somebody about LifeWave, but we're talking about the money side, everything goes wrong, right? So, it's a question of, like Chris said, when it goes from your head to your heart, nobody can tell you anything. An example, a very good example to illustrate posture, is a friend of mine. She had she has emphysema, and she had 6 months with an oxygen bottle. And I said to her, I think I need to tell you about something. She said, what's that? So I told her about the patches. I didn't talk about the business side of it at all. And she says, okay, I'm going to try for a month. And I said, don't even bother. She said, what do you mean, don't bother? I said, don't bother. The protocol is 90 days. You've got a very serious situation, so commit to 90 days. She said, okay, I trust you. I will do that. So then when you hear me say earlier on, this is going downhill with the wind at your back, here's an example. 10 days, 7 hours after she puts the first patch on, she says, I'm noticing some things. I'm not really quite sure what, but I'm noticing some things. 10 days later, she says to me, I've given your phone number to 4 of my friends. She doesn't know there's a business possibility. She just thinks I sell patches or I'm a distributor. So there's the example of the wind at your back. People naturally telling other people, different to other networks. And in her story, after a month, she used to tell me she was able to go around the block with without her oxygen bottle. Excuse me. I ate some peanuts earlier, which probably I shouldn't have done. So here, what else would I want to say? I think.
Sorry.
Say again.
No, I was just going to say while you're putting the last little bits, what you want to say to them. I would love to get Olga, because a lot of people have not heard Olga or met Olga before, and it's such an honor and such a privilege to have her on this call this evening. Totally, we didn't know you were coming on, so what a surprise!
Olga.
I've made you co-host. Olga, I'd love you to say hello to everybody. A lot of new people on this
Hi,
call.
everyone. What
Story.
Thank you for letting me come on. Javi was telling me that they're having a nice Zoom today. He ran out for a meeting and I said, I'm not doing anything. I can do it too. So here we are. 1 second, sweetheart. My kids just got home from school. So I am, first and foremost, so many nuggets I got from this call. And this team is truly remarkable, truly remarkable. And I have to stop for 1 second and congratulate George, Chris, and Lucinda for building such an incredible team. This team is different. We love everyone. We do. I mean, everyone's great. Everyone's different. We know that, right? That's just the way it is. But this team is dynamite. It's special. And I remember when we started with George and Chris and Lucinda and, being told things like, South Africa, it's going to be a hard one. I don't know if you could build over there. And they didn't know Chris, Lucinda, and George, evidently, because look what we've got. Look what they've done. SPDs, congratulations. Congratulations on achieving that beautiful rank and very hard work put into it. You see what they're doing. They're traveling all over South Africa, doing their tours. Reminds me so much of what Stephen and Gina do, just traveling all over. I have to say, if I can give one piece of advice or leave you with something today, or give you something today, rather, maybe that's the better word, give you something today. We truly have our hands on something special. It's done remarkable things for my son. If you don't know my story, I'll give you 2 seconds of it because we can go for hours. My son.
No, give us 2 minutes. Better than 2 seconds.
Okay, 2 minutes it is. My son was diagnosed with autism at 2.5 years old. He lost speech. He lost the majority of his basic motor skills, but not your motor skills in walking or jumping. Motor skills where it involves coordination of something. He had significant behavioral challenges. He would bang his head on the floor. He was wearing a helmet for a short period of time. He was really sick, friends. And I tried everything to take things into my own hands and just think a little outside of the box. And listening to doctors and doing everything that I was doing, traditional therapies, just wasn't doing anything. And I thought after 2.5 years of doing the same thing over and over and nothing happening, it's time to switch things up. And I simply started with just cleaning his diet, seeing homeopathy, holistic doctors, trying homeopathy, biomedical doctors, hyperbaric chamber, and the last one was stem cell therapy. And I can remember to this day, this very specific moment, sitting in Disney World with my children, And two boys were in front of us. They were probably a year apart, older, maybe 10, 11, 12, 13, something along those lines. And I looked at them and I just froze. And Hobby's like, what happened, baby? And I said, I don't think my kids are going to ever be able to do that with each other, to sit there and have a conversation. My son probably will never be able to do that. And my whole just paralysis, fear, and also Mama Bear going into the next gear and saying, we have to try stem cells. And of all the things that we did, stem cells were the most promising. But stem cells were extremely expensive. And stem cells are not something you do once a year. It's something you should try to do at least twice a year. And we're talking lots of money. And I know when there's a will, there's a way, because somehow everything I wanted to do for my son when I was in places where I couldn't afford to do those type of things, somehow we found a way. But I'll tell you this, it was a phone call that changed our lives in every which way possible. It was one phone call from Mike Hernandez. And I thought he was crazy. You're going to try to tell me that this patch is going to do more for my son than the actual injection that I just spent $10,000 on. And he said, Olga, I don't know what it's going to do, but I think for the price of it, it's worth the try. Start doing your research. Think, but don't think too long. Get on it. It's time to do something next. We're on to the next level. And I swear, that night we got home from church. We were sitting in the house. It was Sunday, lazy day. And I started doing my research on phototherapy and photobiomodulation. And my God, I was floored. And the next day, he did an overnight. We got it the next day, I think, the next day or day after, something like that. Very soon after, patches came in. I put the patch on myself first, just to see if I'd wake up alive the next day. Because if somebody's going to go down, it's going to be me and my fault. I wasn't going to let my little boy down. But I got up the next day and it was, something so simple of just having energy and feeling good. But, still thinking maybe it's just a better morning for me. Maybe I slept more peacefully. And, sorry. And gosh, 1 week on that patch, exactly 7 days later, we're sitting in the backyard and Alexander is on a swing, swinging things that he was never able to do before, ever able to do before. I'm leaving this room right now. I know you hear a lot of noise in the background. I have to give my baby something to eat. My Alex just got home. Here we go. He's doing things that are remarkable. Being on a swing. He's riding a bike. That's how it started. He's on a scooter with one leg. That motion itself, one leg on the scooter and one foot rolling. Those things, 1 second, sweetheart. Those things are so hard to do for someone like Alex with apraxia because there's a brain-body disconnect. It truly is a brain-body disconnect. A year and a half later, almost 2 years later, Alexander comes to my room with a box of pasta, a bar of butter. He says, pasta, butter, help. Come on. Come on. They told me he would never speak. They told me he would be institutionalized for the rest of his life. They told me that I wouldn't be able to handle him because he would have such behavioral issues. That they told me that he would never go to the bathroom by himself. They told me everything they told me. Because guess what? He may not have a conversation coming out of his mouth right now, but there are words coming. And I believe with my whole heart and soul that something more will come. I don't know how, my friends. I can't promise myself anything. I can't promise you anything, but I can promise you there's major things happening here. This has changed the dynamic of our whole entire home, not just health, because for me, I wasn't interested in the beginning. for all those things, the money aspect. I just wanted to give my boy, a better quality of life. I promise you, that's all I wanted. It just kind of happened by itself, organically. Yes, is there hard work put into it? Chris knows, George knows, Aloma, Joe, all of you know that nothing is, you don't just sit down, you have to share the patch. You have to help those people share the patch. You have to create teams. You have to build. You have to, it's self-growth. We know that too, right? Because everything here happens for us. Just follow the system. Follow the system. I'm gonna close it off with this because I'm running back and forth. I'm sorry, because I'm by myself. I don't have anybody to help me right now. Follow the system. Keep it simple. Stay duplicatable. Guys, when you start to win in this business, sometimes things happen to people. This fog, and you feel like, oh, I'm SPD. Stay humble. Stay humble. The more humble you stay, the more is going to come. The more it's going to come. What else? What else can I say? What else can I say? Duplicatable. Oh, follow the system. And please, let's try our best, because this is what Stephen and Gina tell me every single time I speak to them. Gina, I got an idea. Olga, stop. Why? Stop reinventing the wheel. Keep it simple. Follow us. We know what we're doing. We've been doing it this way. You have perfect leaders here that are going to do everything to help you succeed. Lock arms. And you know what? I believe this is the year to step it up, like Gina Merritt says. So let's step it up. Let's patch those people. Let's heal people in every way. Like George said before, physical, like Javi says, financial, spiritual, emotional. Let's do it. We are doing big things in South Africa, and watching you all grow is invigorating, because it gives me goosebumps. The other day I was looking at Javi. I said, this wasn't supposed to happen in South Africa. He goes, well, it did. And
so I was on the stage in Lisbon on the Saturday.
Yeah.
Because I spoke several times, and I had a longer session on the Sunday. But on the Saturday, I said we're very excited because our South African team has a person about to hit presidential and a person about to hit senior presidential director. And I was looking at my phone the whole time. And when I was having my longer session on the Sunday with the people, I was able to announce that Sandy Feist had become presidential director, and the whole room erupted in South Africa. And I said she sends greetings from South Africa to Lisbon. So 430 people in the room there. And through South Africa, you guys, you have a lot of connections to other English-speaking countries, many of you, and also many of you have connections to Portugal. Many of you have connections to South Africa, because there's South Africans all over the world. So think of those people, not only the people who are next door, and what was I going to say? Sorry, it just escaped me. I said that there was going to be an event in South Africa, 350 people. So I don't know if Chris has announced it, and maybe I'm saying, but if Chris is doing an event on the 25th of May with 350 people capacity. So your guys, tell everybody in your teams and do all that you can to get there, because when people go to events, and I learned this a long time ago. I used to do webinars, online Zooms. They were called webinars in those days, and I was in an event in London, and the guy running the event said, "So introduce yourself." And I said, "I'm George from Mallorca." And the guy next to me said, "I've heard you for years talking on webinars." And so he invented the word de-virtualize. So what I encourage people, because we meet a lot and a lot of us have met over a screen. I met Chris over a screen. I met Javi over a screen and a phone call. Olga the same. And I've been able to de-virtualize with Chris. When I met Chris, I kept saying, I didn't think you were going to be so tall. He said the same about me. Because I'm like 6 foot and he's 6 foot, and I thought he was going to be like 5'6" or something. So when you get to know somebody in person, and that's wonderful. And for example, I've met Ashley here on this call in Aloma, who says her thing says Joe Romanowski, and it's great. And obviously met Olga and Javi in person more than once, and they're going to come here on holiday, which is super. Lots more things come out of this than just what we're doing with the health story. It's the best fun I've had for a very long time. Sandy, if you're here on the call, I'd love you to say, you said to me you figured this was the best thing that came to Earth. I'd love you to talk about that if you're on the call. Is she still here? And really, I hope this is helpful, because I want to transmit that that this is something very special, very powerful. And we've got, when I was talking about patches, I'm not going to give patches away for free. Yes, I give them away for free. I don't charge for them, but I'm not going to give them to somebody unless that person makes a commitment to me. I'm going to try these patches. I'm going to use them. I made some mistakes at the beginning. I gave 10 patches to a friend of mine. Next day I call him and I say, how do you notice? And he says, I left them in my jeans. My wife put them in the washing machine. So that was the end of those. And then somebody else, I gave him 7 days of LifeWave and 7 days of X39. And I didn't hear from him. I called him and I said to him, so how did it go with the patches? He says, I forgot to put them on. Whenever you give the patches, follow up with people and see how it goes. But anyway, Sandy here? She's gone. Okay, so Sandy, what she said to me on a call when I called her to congratulate her for hitting presidential, she said, I think this is the best thing that's ever come to Earth, to this Earth. And a lot of people are nodding their heads. So like I said at the beginning, we've got a task, we've got a mission, and we've got an opportunity. And as one's financial anxieties recede, and as one is able to deal with those things that, my car just got fixed. It had a few things, 1,200 euros. It used to be, oh my God, I don't need to worry about it. It's part of this week's money. It's huge, that stuff, when you don't have to break your head about every single little detail that life throws at you. Anyways, I've said a lot of things, and I'll shut up for a moment.
George, I love your word, financial anxiety. I've started using that. And I ask people a lot of times, did COVID affect you? Did COVID affect you? The pandemic that affected a lot of people, never mind just with their health, but with finances. And it's across the board, completely across the board. Like I said earlier on, a lot of companies closed down, a lot of companies downsized. A lot of people right now still haven't played catch up yet. They're still trying to catch up with their credit card debt, still trying to pay back those loans that they took when the world went into lockdown. And I don't think people realize there's a thing called a lag period. There's a knock-on effect. Did you know we're still feeling the aftermath even more now because of COVID? It's a knock-on effect. And let me tell you something. People need to get their plan B in place, because there are no guarantees. There are no guarantees. And I want to say it straight. I've been in the corporate world. I've had my own business. And being in the corporate world, you're just a number. You are just a number. because let me tell you, you will get replaced very, very quickly. And you know when that starts to happen? When people get to their mid 50s, late 50s, and say they've been in a company for, 20, 30 years. Now, guys, what I'm going to tell you now, this is reality. People get an increase, they get an increase, they get an increase. Eventually, what happens is the person's getting paid too much. And then what they do is they say, all right, we don't need you anymore. And they replace a new person at half the income. And that's what's happening right now. A lot of people are starting to um, become redundant. And people are looking, guys, people are looking for something. And I believe that we've got the opportunity, as Olga was saying just now, we've got the opportunity. We're sitting on a little gold mine, what we have right now. And, we're talking about a product that's got no competition, a product that works. And it's an obligation for us to share LifeWave with people. And, from just on the financial point of view, I want to ask everybody on this call right now, would an extra $100 a month, just for starters, would that make a difference in your life right now? Yeah, I could see that. $100 a month. How would an extra $100 a week make a difference in your life right now? Yes, a lot of people, a lot of people. And let me tell you something. Many of you guys have met or heard of Marlena. I think you guys saw Marlena speak on the call last week. Now, I've known Marlena. Marlena is in her early 70s, and Marlena is a SASSA pensioner. And anybody in South Africa, the pensions are not that high. I think you get about 2,500 Rand a month. You can't live on that. And Marlena was really battling living from, month to month, hand to mouth. And Marlena had polio and she had big problems with her knees. And I met, like I said, I met her about 4.5 years ago, and she was really walking with a walking stick. And when I introduced Phil to LifeWave in March last year, very quickly, about 3 weeks later, she said, Chris, I didn't know you know Marlena. I said, yes, I've known Marlena for a couple of years. She said, well, Marlena's in a wheelchair. She cannot walk. And myself and Lucinda went to go see Marlena on a Monday morning. We patched her. 5 days later, she was walking. And this has completely turned her life around. And Marlena started sharing it with people. And she signed up a couple of people here and there. But very quickly, Marlena was able to get her patches covered, which was the most important thing. Because I'm not going to go through a compensation plan. You can watch that in your own time. But this is the most beautiful comp plan. And she was
However,
able.
there's something key in this story for me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if this is the best word to use, but Marlena had a resistance to the business side of it, to the money side of it. And I'm delighted because she's in my third line. And when the times I'm open, where I don't open my third line commissions every week, but I see her receiving what in South African terms, is very nice money. And this was despite not really wanting to know anything about the money side of it, or not seeing the money side of it. David Schmidt, his vision doesn't just include health. His vision is helping people to get out of debt. This system allows people to do that. All you need to do is hold on to it, do it, lean into it. And, if you haven't got your own stories, you just heard Olga tell a story. It's a very powerful story to tell. You've heard me tell a story. You've heard Chris tell a story. Use those stories until you have your own stories from your own people. That's like I said before, when I didn't have a story of my own, I believed the stories that other people were telling me, but for me, it was really important to have stories from people that I recommended it to. And those came very quickly. And that then gives credibility to all the other stories you hear from other people.
No,
Yeah.
completely. And I'm glad you brought the resistance part into it. But Marlena didn't give up. In August last year, she was like really feeling down, and she was watching and said, like, I just want to start earning an income. I see people earning income, but she just kept going, kept going, kept going. And her life completely turned around. And here's a SASSA pensioner that was earning 2,500 Rand a month, now earning over 100,000 Rand a month passive income. And Marlena's been part of LifeWave for just on a year now. She didn't give up. And, she left me a voice note about a month ago, and she was crying on the voice note. And she said, Chris, I've been a school teacher my whole life. The most money I've ever earned in my life is 7,500 Rand a month. And I'm earning 100,000 Rand a month. I've never earned this type of money in my life. And she burst into tears and said, Chris, I don't know how to thank you. I don't know how to thank LifeWave. I don't know how to thank David Schmidt. It was very emotional. And, what Marlena does now is she puts a certain percentage of her money aside. And you know what Marlena does? A lot of people don't know this. She buys a lot of patches and she gives it to people less fortunate. She gives it to people that just cannot afford the patches. She helps them with their health. And then what she does is people that need to turn their lives around, she offers them the business side and says, I've put a certain amount of money aside every month. And, when it comes to money, when you start doing well, you're gonna get a lot of people knocking at your door wanting loans and help and all that type of thing. And I'm all for helping people, right? I'll give you a fish today. I'll give you a fish tomorrow. But guess what? Saturday, I'm not giving you a fish. I'm giving you a fishing rod. And I'm going to teach you to fish for yourself. And I'm going to teach you to fish for the rest of your life. Because you cannot just give and give and give and give, because eventually your cup is going to be empty. When we get onto an aeroplane, many of us have been on an aeroplane before, and the air hostess stands in the front there to talk about if anything goes wrong when you're in the air. And the air hostess always says, if we suddenly start to lose air pressure, the oxygen masks are going to drop down. And the air hostess says, you take that mask and you put it onto yourself first before you put the oxygen mask onto somebody else. And that's what we do as human beings. We all givers. Most of the people on this call, we givers, and we just want to make a difference in people. But sometimes we get to the point where we give from an empty place because that's all we're doing is giving and giving and giving. We need to look after ourselves first, because you're no use to anybody until you are in the right place. And that's what LifeWave is able to do. It's going to help you with your backache, and it's going to help you with your bankache. Because what George was saying just now, when you start to earn a beautiful income through this beautiful industry and this beautiful company, you are then able to make a difference and start paying it forward and helping other people. That is what the knock-on effect is with this beautiful product and this beautiful company. That's the knock-on effect. So when people say, yeah, but you know what? I just want to help people. Money's not important to me. And when people say to me, money's not important to me, I say, right, I want to ask you something. If I had to take your money away for 3 months, if I had to take it away, how long are you going to last? If your income right now, every single person sitting on this call, 64 people, I want to ask you, if your current income that you're doing right now, if your income had to stop tomorrow, like I'm talking, bam, your income stops, how long would you last? 6 months? 3 months? 2 months? Some people wouldn't be able to last for 1 month. And that's why I've always got behind me. You see this picture behind me. Some of you might have seen this before and you're thinking, why has Chris got these funny letters and weird writing behind him? Anybody that knows what this is, that's the cash flow quadrant by Robert Kiyosaki. He wrote the book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And on the left-hand side over here, you can see E and S. Guess what E stands for? Employee. Employee means that you're trading your time for money, but it also means that you are kind of, if I want to call it, I want to put it in a nice way, you're enslaved because your boss owns you. And why does your boss own you? Your boss owns you because he pays you a salary. He's your master because he says to you, you need to be at work at 8. You're allowed to go for a tea break at 10. You are allowed to have a lunch break at 1 o'clock till maybe 1 or 2 o'clock. You're allowed to have a tea break at 3. And we will allow you to go home at 5 o'clock because we own you. And guess what? We're going to give you 21 days leave per year because we can. And eventually you get to the point where you go, I can't do this anymore. I can't do this. You move over to the lower down. You become S, which means self-employed. You're still trading time for money. You might work a little bit harder, but the problem is the moment you're not actively working, your income comes to a stop. And the problem is we have residual bills. Bills don't go away. Bills seem to be ongoing. So what we need to do is create an ongoing residual income to cover those residual bills. And that's when you move over to the B, which is business owner side. Now, most people that want to move over to the business owner side, you're looking at a franchise, or you're looking at well, mainly franchises because that's a
How hard
duplicatable
did you
system.
work in your business, Chris?
Ah, hello, hello, and you move over to that side, and then you got to have a system in place, right? That costs a lot of money. And this is where you come into LifeWave, you come into network marketing, you're buying into your own little mini franchise, guys, for like Olga was saying, a drop in the ocean. And this is more powerful. What you do is you do the work once and you get paid over and over again. And that's where you move over to the business owner side. And then obviously the R standing for investor. And that's when your life completely
Let
changes.
me give you this thought. How much is 100,000 rand in money? I'll understand.
Um, $5,500.
Okay, so that's $60,000 a year, 66,000 a year. Now, if you needed to have an income of $66,000 a year from capital, you would need to have
16 million rand.
something like $3 million in investments to get that 66,000. So Marlena, with 1 year's work, has basically built herself the kind of income that $3 million of capital is needed to provide that kind of income. That's the power of this, what we're doing. And I want to say one more thing about Marlena. Her face, it's a different face. The first time I saw her face, it was pain everywhere in her face. She looks like a different person now.
Life changing on every single level. And that's what we're doing. We're giving people their lives
So
back.
with all of that said, you guys, reach out to us and tell us how we can help you. That's the main thing.
Yep. Yep. So guys, I just want to say thank you. Thank you. It's been an awesome evening sharing some time with you guys. Olga, thanks for popping on. George, always as usual, thank you for everything you do for us. Thank you for everything you do for the community. And in finishing off, yes, we are having our first convention in South Africa, 25th of May, Saturday, the 25th of May. 350 seats. Lucinda is going to have everything out on the groups tomorrow through Cricket. Today we were just organizing the food. We were selecting muffins today. Right. Listen, chocolate. Okay, so chocolate muffins. Okay. So listen, we were busy with that type of stuff today. Everything's going to be in place. 220 Rand. 220 Rand covers the entire day. It covers the venue. You can get water when you arrive, and that includes lunch as well. And we've got
So
a
then go back.
beautiful.
going back to what I was saying about devirtualizing
Hmm.
and going to events, because that gives more reality, more credibility to everything that you have in your mind, and more credibility. Look, two people came. They drove from the south of Spain to Portugal. They're in Merle's team. They came. It was a 7-8 hours drive, and they weren't sure what to expect. They really weren't sure what to expect. They both went left so fired up, it blew their minds completely. Seeing, because here it is dancing around in our brains. Suddenly you're in a room with 400-500 people, in that case 430 people. In Florida it was 1,700, 1,800 people in that first event. That changes it completely for pretty much everybody who goes to those events. So I encourage you. I don't know. I know South Africa's big, and I know Johannesburg is maybe a bit far from some parts, but try and get there.
Yeah, we've got people that are flying up from Cape Town, KZN. A lot of people have like sort of pre-booked already. So, oh yes, yeah, I was just talking about the pricing. So 220 Rand, guys, that is nothing. That's for the event. That covers water, it covers lunch as well. And that's all inclusive, 220 Rand for the full day. And there will also be a canteen there, so you can get cappuccinos, you can get extra food if you want, you can get cold drinks, so everything will be there in place. Beautiful venue, guys. Beautiful double screen stage lights. We've gone all out. We paid the full amount last week, so that's all paid, that's done, and now we're just doing the last little finalities. And you're gonna walk in there, um, a certain person, and you're gonna walk out that afternoon a different person. You're gonna have a complete paradigm shift. You're gonna see things completely differently, and you're gonna watch your business explode. And guys, in South Africa, all I can say is we haven't even got started yet. We haven't even
We
scraped
haven't got
the tip
started
of the
anywhere.
iceberg. Anyway, the world's
Yeah,
our oyster.
I told myself I'm not going to consider I'm at the beginning until I am SPD, and thank you, Lord, I am SPD, until I have 3 consolidated directors in both legs, in each leg. And that's when I'll consider I'm at the beginning, and I'm not yet at the beginning.
Exactly. How exciting is that, eh? How exciting.
It's so much fun.
Okay, guys. Well, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you for tonight. So awesome. Hope you guys got something out of it. And from my side down here in South Africa, and a lot of us from South Africa, good night. God bless. Enjoy your weekend. See you guys on the call. Can't wait to see you
Oh,
soon.
and sorry,
Mhm.
the last thing I forgot to say before, that was it was in my mind. Go back through your WhatsApp, 10 years of WhatsApp. Go back through your Messenger, 10 years of your Messenger. Go back through any of your chats, well, whatever it is, whether your Messenger, WhatsApp, FaceTime, or whatever they call it. Just go back, and you'll bump into people in that history of yours that you need to reach out to. I've done a lot
I'm
of that.
writing that one down. I'm writing that one down. Whoa. Yo. Nice one there, George. Nice one. You shared a nugget right at the end.
These are
Bang.
little things that add up.
Oh, thanks for that, George. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, guys, enjoy your evening. See you all soon. Love you all.
Bye. Bye
Bye bye,
bye.
guys.
Bye, Mon.